Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 has officially released, and you may be wondering, is it actually worth the $60? Well, I got to play the game for about 5 hours today, and man, it is a sight to see. Now, throughout this video, I am going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. First of all, when it comes to actually downloading the game, unfortunately, for the official release day of Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, there was no preload for PC. I did hear that console got a preload, but PC did not get one, so the release time started at 9 a.m. for everybody. In my current situation, it took me 6 hours to download the game, but I know that's not the case for everybody. Just food for thought. Now, coming from somebody who has never played a 40k series game, the only experience I've had with anything Warhammer was Vermintide 2. I didn't feel like I needed to play anything prior to this or really look into any lore. I just wanted to jump straight in, and the game does a really good job, at least in my opinion, of being able to just get you in and tell you what you need to know, give you a weapon, and you start blasting. So if anybody was wondering if they needed to play the first Space Marine that came out 13 years ago, or if they needed to brush up on tons of lore, which of course you can do if that's what you want to do, you don't have to in order to enjoy the game. I have a Ryzen 9 3900X and a 3080, and it runs like absolute freaking butter. To my knowledge, I did not run into any stutters or hitches or really any kind of frame drops. I just had a very fluid experience, and it was super nice. But when it comes to server stability, that is a little bit different. Now, apparently this was mainly more just kind of on my side, at least in this specific situation. Overall, this has been something that the devs did address, and they did push out a little patch for this as well. But in my personal situation, I tried to queue up with a buddy, and literally the moment we queued up, everything was totally fine. But we tried to actually get him in the lobby to replace one of the bots instead of them being the third player that we would actually play with. It completely kicked me out of all online play, and I was not able to do any online play for the rest of the night. But my buddy was able to continue doing online play. And then another friend that went and picked up the game was able to jump straight into online play, along with another friend that was able to jump straight into online play and hadn't had many issues prior to that as well. So that more specifically could have just been a me issue, but again, they did address it. It is just a thought that there could be some issues when it comes to servers. Now, when it comes to the gameplay itself, it is absolutely fantastic. The moment-to-moment combat, switching between your main weapon, your primary weapon, and then your melee weapon feels fantastic. I will say the keybinds by default are a little wonky, so I went ahead and changed those for me specifically. They may not be an issue for you, and just being able to pull off finishers, being able to pull off just different combos, being able to charge up heavy attacks, it is absolutely fantastic. Also being able to swap from just a kind of normal zoomed view of your weapon and then actually being able to zoom into your scope is really nice as well and super seamless. Now, when it comes to the environment, the world itself is absolutely freaking beautiful. I did take some cool screenshots so that you could kind of get a reference of what the game looks like if you haven't seen trailers or much of anything for the game itself. But running on Unreal Engine 5, it looks absolutely fantastic, so I'm a big fan of how the game looks visually. Also, the audio is fantastic. Everything is very weighty, it's very punchy, there's lots of bass to it. It sounds very good in my IEMs. I don't know how it may sound in headphones, but to me, it sounded fantastic, and I was a big fan of the audio design. Now, in the time that I actually played, I was actually playing on the hardest difficulty, Angel of Death. It's the hardest difficulty for a reason. I got absolutely body slammed in the tutorial a couple times. It didn't let me parry him. What the freak? It didn't let me parry him. And then follow it up with attack. Okay. I don't know. I don't, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, but that was mainly because I ignore parrying in pretty much every game. Even if it's a mechanic, it is just something I don't care about. And in this game, you pretty much have to parry. So if you don't like parrying, you might want to get better at it. Also, when it comes to enemy variety, in the time that I played through the main tutorial, then there's kind of like a little prequel mission, and then I played through the actual first campaign mission in offline mode because I was having those issues getting online after trying to queue up with my buddy. In that time, I think I saw like 7 or 8 different types of enemies, maybe more. So there definitely is a very good selection of enemies and different variety that you're going to run into while playing. And then also on top of that, there was a huge selection selection of weapons. I think I got to use like 9 different types of weapons just based off finding stuff laying on the floor or sitting on crates or actual capsules where they pop out and then you can kind of like grab the weapons that are sitting there. There's a wide variety of weapons just in my short couple of hours of playing, so no complaints there. And also every weapon does feel pretty decent to use. I didn't really have a weapon that I didn't like. Of course, there were other weapons that I more preferred, but I pretty much liked every weapon that I used. They all felt really good. They felt powerful. And once I got the hang of them, it just felt really good to use all of them for the most part. And now honestly, is the game worth 60 bucks? Personally, I think the game is worth 60 bucks. I'm happy that it wasn't 70. It actually feels like there's a decent variety of things to do. You have the main campaign, which apparently is going to take about 12 hours to do. Your main missions take about an hour or 45 minutes, depending on how fast you do them, and also depending on what difficulty you do them on as well. But then on top of that, you also have your co-op missions, but then also you have the PvP for everybody that wants to play PvP. And then we also have an entire year worth of a roadmap. So personally, for me, yes, I think the game is worth 60 bucks. I'm going to be playing the game a lot more. I can definitely see myself sinking probably 50, 60 hours into the game within the first couple of weeks of it being out. I personally enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought if you played it, and if you haven't played it, will you be playing it? Will you be getting it? Let me know in the comments. Your time is incredibly valuable, so thank you very much for spending some of it watching me explain this, and I hope I was able to give you a general understanding on if you should get the game or not, or at least maybe pique your interest on it. But now with all that said, I will catch you in the next one, brother.